Hi team, welcome to the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. This week we're going to dive into all the latest expansion news on Knights of the Fallen Empire, and there is quite a bit. We'll also talk about the fun stuff going on in our guild, Alea Iacta Est. Our astromech of the day is EPC 96, who is a knight of fallen into an escape pod. Am I right? Okay, the jokes are still terrible, but they're shorter. They're shorter. So with me, as always, is Seema. Hi, Seema. How is Nightmare Dread Fortress looking these days?
Well, you know, the Jaraxxus fight is like a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma. Because each of the mobs in those waves, they all have like an additional thing they do, or they're resistant to something they didn't used to be, or something that you used to do no longer works on them. So when we went in there, we were just kind of going by the seat of our pants, and so each wave we were discovering these new things. So it was pretty fun.
Yeah, yeah.
We need our... We were getting to the enraged timer though, so it's still no... We couldn't Zerg it, let's put it that way.
Well,
not like we can Zerg Nephra.
Right, right. So it was interesting hearing Sten talk about it sort of as we were going. And saying things like,
yeah.
"Oh wait, one of them's got a blue lightsaber. Kill the one with the blue lightsaber. Don't wait. Okay, the guys with the shield, they can't finish their no. Okay, so they can't finish their channel, and the one with the blue lightsaber. And wait, the
yes.
little things would blow up, and you'd get a stack off of that. And God, guys, how many? This is a nightmare. Aha. But yes. That was fun. So that's what our ops team decided to do for part of that was the first time we ever tried Nightmare Draxus too, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
We had done Nightmare Nephra plenty of times, even back in the day. But not.
And we might be entering into the last time we can do Nightmare Dread Fortress to Palace for a while if those... Anyway, we can get into that later, but you know, ops if they get upgraded to level 65.
Yes, if that crazy stuff is going to happen, like we've been hearing. So we'll certainly be talking about that. But first, we can talk about the rest of the news.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
So besides the nightlife event, which continues to be in progress, what is going on right now, Seema? Why are we not in the game on the live stream?
The servers are down for an extended maintenance. This is for patch 3.2.2. We don't know why it's such a long maintenance. I'm thinking maybe they're putting in some background stuff for the next patch, or maybe they're doing some infrastructure work on servers or other hardware, who knows. The one sort of thing that stood out from the patch notes is the change to the max number of Warzone comms that you can have, which is going up from 2,750 to 200,000.
Yep.
So this is kind of an answer to PvP, people saying, why should we PvP now when there's nothing to spend the comms on, or we can't spend them or something, and yet we'll need them for the next. And they said, okay, right, then you can have you can store as many as you like, and this was their answer, which I'm okay with that. In fact, I kind of like that they responded in this way. I wish they would do that with elite comms.
Yeah, all the comms. I'm always capped on
all
elite comms especially,
yeah.
But all the comms, that would be great. I don't know why. Sometimes I like just seeing the number tick up higher and higher and just never spending them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I had my druthers, I would like there to be something for me to buy with my elite comms, but at the very least I don't like that I'm just throwing them in the trash.
Right, right. Also, we did hear a lot of news. The development of PTS on the PTS of 3.3 is continuing to go pretty well. They did have the PvP weekend last weekend. They had 3 days of a window of time on each day where they were asking PvPers to come help them out with some testing, test the new balance changes, and test a specific change that they were making to interrupting capping nodes with AoE. They were going to make AoEs no longer interrupt people capping nodes, because they were afraid they were seeing too many stalemates when you'd get to like the doors in Voidstar. But after the weekend, they seemed to be very thankful and happy in the participation that they had. They gave out a bunch of rewards. People got cartel coins for participating. Extra people, I think there were...
And shout-outs.
Yeah. I think typically like 10 extra people got shoutouts and extra cartel coins for doing special things and PvPing the most number of games and that kind of thing. And then they also made the comment that they're going to hold back on the AoE interrupt change because they didn't see it make as much of a difference or the kind of difference that they were looking for. And they knew there was a lot of, or at least a little bit of backlash against it. So they decided to hold off on that for now. So there you go. And then the one other thing they continued to mention, there's a note in the dev tracker, is that PvP Season 5 will end with patch 3.3 when that does go in. And all of this thing with the Warzone comms increasing, that's actually designed around what's going to happen in patch 3.3, but they put it in this week, and that was sort of a surprise, so that you could be collecting those comms now and not have to worry about it and not have to wait till 3.3, which was nice.
Right. Also, they announced today that character transfers are going to be only 90 cartel coins, and this is for the foreseeable future. So you can easily switch somebody over, one of your characters over to another server to play with friends, etc., etc.
Yes.
Which I also think is a good way of getting your legacy onto a new server too. Even if all you wanted to do was start out fresh on the server, you could bring your legacy over.
Yeah, that's sort of a good way to play across servers. That might even be better in some ways than cross-server queuing. Just pay 90 cartel coins every night and switch back and forth to whatever server you want. This is it.
You can play with all your friends.
This is it, isn't it? This is better than cross-server.
It is much better than cross-server.
I think we've discovered their nefarious plan. In AIE Guild news, our ops teams continue to run. We could use, it sounds like, a couple people, maybe 1 to 2 more full-time members. We're getting a lot of subs that are having to run on the Republic ops teams that runs on Monday nights. So if you're interested in that, check in with Sten on the forums. He is one of our Canadians. I don't know why I always say that, but he is. So if you only speak French, you could also join that team, and Sten will talk to you all night. And our sub ops team continues to run. They're pretty well set for members. They always need subs every once in a while when people's hardware breaks down, as our team, the Lords of Light, is dealing with right now as well. But the sub ops team runs on Wednesday nights, so you can check them out too. And we're continuing to stream our Lords of Light ops nights on Thursday and Sunday. And we're starting to switch it up, as you heard, and do some different things. I think we're all getting tired of story mode Ravagers, story mode Temple of Sacrifice. When we get our tank, our real tank back and Max stops tanking, we'll do more of the hard mode bosses. But in the meantime, I think we will try a little thing, some stuff like Nightmare Dread Fortress, and get some Wings of Brontes. Maybe. Maybe not.
Max, you're an awesome tank. I wish you would tank all the time.
Yeah, well, it's okay. I mean, I've grown to like it. It's not bad. I used to not like it, but it's pretty good. So maybe I'll tank more on occasion, once in a while. But if I can go back to pew pew, stand back, drop some lasers, that's pretty fun too.
Pew pew.
Also, thank you to the chat room. We've got a bunch of people in the chat room tonight, and I think that is probably due to the servers being down. Boy, 12 hours starting at 10 p.m. the night before. That is longest maintenance ever. So hello to everyone in the chat room. Thanks for everybody joining us tonight. We do these streams on Monday nights. And at the end, we will... I forgot who won the Cartel Pack giveaway at the end of the show last week, but we'll do it again tonight.
I presumably have it written down somewhere.
Presumably, you'd think so. I think I have it recorded somewhere. I did not write it down. I usually do have it in the notes. I did not have it written down, but I do have the audio recorded that I can go back to and find.
That's true.
But with that, I think we can talk about the main event, Knights of the Fallen Empire.
A man can have anything if he is willing to sacrifice.
Yes. And is BioWare willing to sacrifice everything we know about SWTOR to have an interesting new expansion? News at 11.
Maybe so. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. We talked a little bit about some of the news last week, and we decided at the time, because we had guests lined up and we had a couple other things that we wanted to talk about, that we would touch on the news and we would wait a little bit and see what happened during the week. And boy, we did get some new tidbits to talk about during the week as well, and clarifications and another interview. So we're going to go through a bunch of that and talk a little bit more about what our views of Knights of the Fallen Empire and what it looks like to us and where we think it's going. And boy, it does really seem like a game changer. I will throw a game changer out there because, man, they're really strongly intending to change the game quite a bit, is what it sounds like.
It does sound like that to me too.
So last week we saw the E3 trailer, and that trailer is still out there. The one they showed during E3 was a slightly, I don't know why they did it, but it was like 15 seconds less than the full version of the trailer. And the full version of the trailer is so much better.
It was 2 minutes.
How much did?
I think it was maybe like a minute or two. I think the one they showed was 2 minutes, and the full one is more like 4 minutes. So
okay.
I think probably someone told them this is how much time you get.
Interesting.
You know, for your presentation. That would be my guess anyway. But yeah, they should have showed the whole thing, even if it meant they couldn't say anything. Because it's awesome.
It is. It certainly is. Okay, pause for just 1 sec in our discussion.
Okay, I'm going to reload Twitch then.
Yeah, I'm getting some latency. My kids are in the other room. I wonder if they're like streaming everything that Netflix has to offer. It looks like the bitrate is starting to recover, so we can continue. So yeah, I do agree that extended trailer, maybe they just didn't have the time. Maybe it did cut out more than it seemed to me, but the extended trailer really tells the story. So great. Then they posted some notes in the dev tracker. They did specify that the whole expansion is going to be ready to drop on October 27th. They did specify that you'll be going to level 65. They said there'll be lots of story and there will be new planets. And they introduced this idea that it will be episodic chapters. And we've even heard more around that. So they said it'll be 16 episodic chapters of story content, with only 9 of them coming out on October 27th. So what I heard this week, Seema, out of the Massively interview in particular, was that they even consider these 16 episodic chapters as sort of season 1 of new story. And that's the way they want to sort of look at seasons and episodes and story content coming out in the future. Did you catch that? Is that sort of your view of where they're going with that?
Yes, that was my view of it too. And I think it's interesting because it's sort of like, you know, a season of TV on Netflix. It's like you can, if you subscribe, you get it a month at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could wait until it's all out and then, you know, subscribe and then binge play through it.
Right. Right, so it does seem to be a little bit designed for subscribers to be getting sort of the most continuous value, but I guess that's what you'd expect. You could wait and wait, you know, wait for it to come out, play free for a little while, then sub or whatever. I don't know if they haven't really talked about the business model completely, if they will have a way to buy the content without subscribing. Right now they're talking about the episodic content being subscriber focused, right?
Right.
I don't think I saw anything different than that.
But I do think that if you subscribe, you'll be able to play through all the chapters up to the point where you subscribe.
Right. That sounds right. And that's how they've worked most of the content so far, even just in the traditional expansions that they've had. We saw some news.
So I guess each of those chapters has got to be worth $15 to a person playing the game.
Right. And well, unless they're doing multiple per month. If 9 of them come out on the 27th, I don't know how long I don't know how long it'll take for them to release the next 7 or whatever, and then what'll come after that.
Well, they said that they'll start in 2016.
Okay, so that's 7 over the course of November, December.
Yeah.
or into January. So it could be a couple a month. It could be one a week. We'll have to see how that release schedule ends up looking.
I think they mean for it to be one a month, and we get the first ones 9 at launch, and then the rest of them come once a month after. I mean, in 2016.
Really? Okay. So that would be 7 months into. So that would be 5 months into 2016. That would still be eating up the episodic content out of Fallen Empire. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
We also saw
5 months. Yeah.
We also
I would call it 7, but yeah.
Well, 2 in.
Sorry, go ahead.
2. Well, November and December would be 2, and then 5 more in 2016. The Polygon article was another source of content that was last weekend, and there they started talking about some additional elements of what they're doing in this expansion, and this idea that you're potentially going to have some new companions. And so we all understand that, but they also talked about, and they introduced this idea that then they expanded on in the IGN post-show live stream with that interview, where they talked about, you're going to wake up from Carbonite, years have gone by, you're now sort of entering into this new story with your character, and potentially your companions have been spread to the wind. They're not around. You can, it sounds like we're expecting, and some of the other things that have come out of these interviews is that you can go around and pick up your companions, but there's also other companions to either choose from or to add. It's not exactly clear how that's going to work, but it does sound like at least there will be new companions in addition to all your old companions, or the option to switch out companions, or some new and interesting choices to be making. So what was your take on the whole companion discussion?
Well, they did also comment, or maybe this is what you meant. They commented that you could possibly earn a companion that hitherto had been, belonging to some other class.
Yeah, you're right.
So
you're right, they did say that.
So I mean, with respect to crafting, because we were talking about this afterwards, maybe you could orchestrate your story so that you ended up with all companions that have big crit bonuses.
Yes, that's possible.
I don't know if it's possible. But anyway, I think you're going to be mostly getting your old companions back, and you're going to earn the favor of the new companions.
So they're also talking about, and I think this will play back into this, and we'll come back to this point on companions, because the chat room is asking, did we make Seema cry yet? And not yet. We will. Stay tuned. But they're saying they're going to be very focused on story, and story matters, and it's going to be mostly a single player story experience, but it's going to be really of that deep BioWare story. Choices you make are going to matter. Past choices you've made are going to matter, and you're really going to get the feel that the things you're doing within your story, within your window of you playing this story as the Outlander, that your choices are going to matter. Now, that's all interesting and well and good, and we can talk about that specifically. But it sounded like one of the choices that we could potentially expect, or one of the choices that maybe people are just speculating on or extrapolating, was the choice to have companions live or die. We did have in beta the option to kill off a potential companion, and they stopped that. They took that away. So there's speculation now, and this is a little bit of my speculation, that they could be putting you into situations, which BioWare is known for, of giving you either a hard choice to make between two companions, like only two possible companions are in peril, and you can only save one, and someone's gonna die. What do you do? So what do you think of that, Seema?
Yeah, that's not. No. I don't want to make that decision. I mean, let's say the decision is that if you go down this pathway, you can make a lot of gold, or if you go down this pathway, you are going to lose your opportunity to make that gold, or the gold, like your smuggler or whatever. but you get to save somebody. I'm okay with that as a decision, but I don't want to do the Jaxo type of decision again. I mean that.
Well, so let's take your counselor for example.
Take my what?
Your counselor.
Yeah, my counselor. Okay.
Who are your two favorite companions on your counselor? I'm just wondering. Just the case may be.
Well.
Who did you romance?
Well, I romanced Lieutenant Ereso, but that was the only romance choice.
Okay. Okay.
So yes, he's my and yeah.
Okay. So there's Ereso, and he's down on the planet.
Every time I hear this BioWare deep story thing, I think of the romance of Lieutenant Ereso, which was basically like 3 conversations where he goes, you know, I kind of love you, and she goes, okay, well, let's kiss and get married.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So that wasn't,
yes, that
like,
wasn't all that.
What
deep.
I would call a deep storyline. Yeah.
Okay. So.
But anyway, yeah. So you're asking me if I would want to have him killed.
Ereso's down on the planet, and the Fallen Empire dude's Valkorion, is that his name? Yeah, Valkorion has sent a ship hurtling down to the planet, and Treek is out in a shuttle, right? You could send Treek to deflect this ship that's going to impact the planet, but Treek will die in that impact of deflecting the ship. Or you save Treek from the shuttle, you pull that shuttle in, and that ship impacts the planet and Ereso dies. What do you do?
This is like one of those games where they say, would you rather eat dirt or
yeah, and you don't have to answer, but this
orange juice poured down your pants. Yeah, I mean,
but
it
could happen. I mean, I don't think it's out of the question that they could, and maybe not with the existing companions, maybe with new companions, they could at least be putting you in situations, and this is what I expect. They'll put you in a situation where you have to make a decision, sort of like, and it could be more trivial than that. It could be a light dark decision. You know, you're traveling with, you know, Joe the, you know, whatever, Joe the Cybertech, and Joe the Cybertech is a scoundrel, and he wants you to torture the dude. And if you say no, then Joe the Cybertech gets a little pissed off and leaves, and then you don't get the chance to have Joe the Cybertech as your companion. Or you say yes, and maybe somebody else gets a little mad about that situation and maybe doesn't want to be your companion. I think they could be throwing you into that kind of situation.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I think your original companions will... Because remember when they used to make all this big hullabaloo about how they can't change anything in the ships because there's so many quest hooks in there, and every time they touch the ships, they're afraid they'll fall apart?
Mm-hmm.
Well, removing a companion out of that would be a major change to the ships.
Possibly. I will put money though that
I mean, maybe,
you could end up in that situation. As I said, only one credit. But so I'm not wedded to the idea.
Maybe they'll kill off one of your characters, one of your companions, but when you go back to your ship, they'll still be there.
Yeah, actually,
because they never deleted them.
Knowing BioWare.
Yeah.
The bug where you still see the corpse of your dead companion on your ship will be fixed in patch 5.6. So, but finding new companions, that sounds interesting. Getting choices on who those companions are and what companions you pick up and what companions potentially from other classes you pick up. I haven't thought too deeply about it, about, say, on my mercenary, who else would I want to pick up, but that could be fun. You could go with, all lightsaber wielding companions, in your lineup, or all snipers or something like that for fun. That could be interesting. Also in the news, we heard that you will have the option as part of this to create a new character starting at level 60. Now they did have some clarifications around this, what's going to happen and how that's going to be handled and how the backstory for that character at level 60 is going to be handled. They'll talk about that in the future, and they haven't worked that out. But this idea to pop in, sort of get a character starting at level 60 so that you can start into this new content, I think that's mildly interesting. I won't get much use out of it, but yeah.
I mean, I do think this is something that people have been. I mean, I've been heard people asking for that. I've never really been that enamored of the idea. But yeah,
I've done it in other MMOs. So if I think of someone who's been
yeah, me
playing
too.
Star Wars casually and has maybe leveled up a couple of characters, or maybe leveled somebody to 50 and then hadn't played much since, I could see, hey, I wish I did have a Jedi. Okay, but I don't want to, I don't want to go through all the levels. Even with 12x XP, I'd prefer not to. Great. Okay, that doesn't sound like a bad option. Pop it out there.
Or if you're like me and you already have, many alts, and it's free, and you might as well get another level 60 out of the deal. And they're thinking about possibly upping the character max 2 levels. So I mean 2 more. So it would
Two
be
more slots.
24 instead of 22. Yeah, slots.
I did hear that
Yeah.
also. That did come out of one of the dev discussions, that they're thinking about it, or they're going to try
They're
for it.
looking, yeah, trying to figure out if they can. I don't know how they quantify that, but I mean, for me, I would have to delete a character
Right now, yeah.
to,
I think I have one
yeah,
slot
to do
left
this.
because I was saving one for a Togruta. Or I might even have 2 slots left. But
Oh, I have to delete 2. Or maybe my level 60 will be a Degruda.
There you go. Level 60 Togruta mercenary. You never have too many mercenaries.
Yeah, right. But speaking of 12x, since you mentioned it, they do say that 12x is going to come to an end with the X Pack, but they have something sort of to take its place, that things are streamlined, so you'll be playing through the story much faster anyway, so you won't need 12x.
And do you think that's even with older characters? Or do you think that this boost
Yeah.
to 60 thing, or not boost, it's
No,
not a
I
boost
think
to 60 specifically, it's create a new at 60. So you think there'll be something else
I
as
think
well?
it's because they specifically said things like, well, maybe in the past it took, 50 or 100 hours to level a Jedi Knight. Well, now it'll take a fraction of that.
Okay. Well, okay, so that's interesting. So maybe it's not 12x
So it'll
XP,
play
but
much-
it's basically, that sounds like it's basically the same.
Because you'll be doing the class. I think what they're going to do instead of having 12 XP is just have the class story give enough XP for you to progress. So they specifically said, so you don't have to do the go gather these quests and the go do this, the quote unquote MMO bits. So they're not taking them out, so you can do them if you want to. But
Yep. We also saw a couple notes in Dev Tracker this week clarifying a couple questions that have been coming up. One was, hey, I've got all this stuff. I've got strongholds. I've got stuff in my inventory. I've got all of these crew skills. I've got stuff. Are you going to take my stuff? Are you deleting my stuff? And the key response there was, no, you get to keep your stuff. We are still speculating exactly, does that mean absolutely everything? Especially when you think about companions, and some of those have crew skill bonuses. Maybe if you get all the same companions back, maybe you have all those too. So maybe it is everything, you get everything back. But I think that remains to be seen. It sounds to me like it's very definitive. Every item, your credits, all that kind of stuff, you definitely keep all of that stuff. Stuff.
yeah, right. I definitely don't think they're going to take credits away.
They also said that you will retain crafting. Well, the question was included. The person asked the question included crafting as part of it, and the commentary back was you get to keep your stuff. But then they did clarify how exactly crafting will work is something that we'll talk about more down the line. So there is potential changes coming to crafting. Maybe they're minor. Maybe it is something around how the crafting bonuses work. We'll have to see how that's going to shake out, and that should be coming in some of the dev posts, blog posts that they are planning on releasing between now and October. They did.
I think crafting will be exactly the same, but what they're talking about is like, adding more items to it and more mats, but it'll be the same system.
Yeah, so that's
Because all this
right.
focus on story and creating story does not does not scream out, and we're going to make giant changes to the MMO bits.
Well, that's a key question. Okay, so this gets into, so they've said some other things, and maybe we'll touch on a couple of the notes that come up. But this is really the crux of something that's coming up that's central to the discussion around Fallen Empire right now, which is BioWare, and especially in the Massively article that they did, in an interview that they did this week, does sound like they're changing the game significantly in their approach to it. And as a throwaway tagline at the end of some of these conversations, they keep saying, yeah, and we'll still have all the MMO bits in there too, the MMO bits. But they're not really talking about much of the MM part of what they're going to be doing in Fallen Empire. They are talking about the story, and they even went as far as saying single-player story is better. Was what I got out of that Massively interview. Was
right.
You have much more flexibility and freedom to make the choices that you need to make, and make choices that matter, and have story that matters if it's a single player view of that story as you go through that storyline. Okay,
right. They even said it, quote unquote, it can only be played out one player at a time.
Right. And if someone else comes into your story, they might be able to play parts of it with you, but it'll be spoilers for them, and they shouldn't. They're sort of like really discouraging that. Okay.
Right.
And part of that was they were saying this is what BioWare is known for. This is sort of the legacy of Knights of the Old Republic. This is something that we do really well, and our fans really like. And they've said this is what we're hearing from our player base that people are demanding. Now, I think there's a little bit of controversy around that, because if you look at the major forums and social networks and whatnot, not many people have really gotten the sense that that's what players are really demanding.
Right.
In fact, the key demands tend to be around things that they haven't mentioned anything about whatsoever, like when's the next operation coming, when's PvP going to be updated, when's there going to be another PvP map, what about open world PvP? That's what people demand. So I don't know who's demanding the story. Not that it's necessarily going to be bad or this is a bad move for them, but they have the potential to be sacrificing quite a bit here to pivot in this way and make this sort of solo rich story central to the game. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you're getting a little sense of my sort of not skepticism, but my view that this is a challenge for them to make good on and pivot in a way that's not going to be sacrificing too much of what the MMO is today, or what an MMO even is in general. What are your thoughts on that, Isima?
I think that they want to make possibly, like a subgenre of MMO, which is, MMO is short for MMORPG, right? So, but they want to make it more RPG with some MMO stuff, enough MMO stuff attached to keep people engaged. And maybe this is not a bad thing, because the classic MMO is out there in every other, in lots of iterations, so why shouldn't they make something that's different from the classic MMO? I just hope that they are able to make it compelling enough that people don't get bored.
Yes.
I mean, let's face it, when the story comes out month by month, I don't think you're going to be playing it for a month, right? You're going to be playing it on the day, the first day that you log in after it comes available, and if it's like Ziost, it'll be an hour or two.
Right. And maybe it won't. Maybe it'll be 12 hours of content if it's really rich and story driven, or an hour for each chapter, whatever's in. But we're all going to just plow through it. And they haven't talked about... They've talked about taking the current operations and boosting them to new endgame levels. But they haven't talked about any new operations. And playing the old operations at the new levels, in some ways, does sound interesting. It's one of the things our guild does on Tuesday nights. We go, even just at overpowered, we go back in and we play the old operations because we like visiting those things, and there's some great fun times. There's some great places, but that's the part of the MMO, which is the group content. So if they're saying no new group content in 2015, that's a pivot. That's interesting. That's
a bold move, because that's what they're doing.
That's bold. So it makes me think of the trailer. It makes me think of the trailer for Fallen Empires. The trailer starts out, and the first line of the trailer is, "A man can achieve anything if he's willing to sacrifice." And I feel like BioWare is sort of taking that to heart here and saying, we can take our MMO to the next level if we sacrifice. And I hope what they're not going to sacrifice is everything we currently love about the game. Now, it is true that MMOs as a genre are somewhat challenged in general. Every MMO is seeing declining numbers, for one, and for two, we're certainly seeing a proliferation of more and more MMOs. And Star Wars: The Old Republic, when it launched, and even to this day, was always somewhat criticized for fitting the traditional MMO mold.
Right. That's right.
So they could be willing to sacrifice at this point and make that pivot. I don't know.
I think you could be very right. I mean, and it may work for them.
It may.
It's the same. If the same, maybe it'll bring in the people who are the traditional people who played KOTOR and who play Dragon Age and who play other RPGs, and maybe it'll be worth it to them to be immersed in the Star Wars world, and maybe each chapter will be worth $15 to them every month, and they won't need the group content that us MMO players are used to having.
Right.
And maybe that will just grow their subscriptions exponentially, and I think that would be fantastic if it did.
Yes, it very well could. It very well could be a pivot that changes this into this new interesting thing, an interesting thing for the market, an interesting thing for BioWare. What they could end up saying is what they could end up doing, though, is sacrificing what the current players of the game have that have stuck around and stuck with it. That's the market that they could be sacrificing, because the people that have stuck with it for the the MMORPG traditional stuff, because that's all there has been. So it's that I don't think all of that's going to go away, but I'm not going to just play through some story content. I'm not going to be all that satisfied with playing through some interesting new story content. I could be very satisfied with that, and that could be very interesting. But then going and running Ravagers again for 7 more months,
Okay, that now you can hear my tears.
we made Seema cry a second time.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the story, and I appreciate things like getting mounts and pets and stuff like that, but the context of all that is the social aspect of the game, that we get together and before ops we show off that stuff to each other, or we do the emotes, or we retell the same jokes from week to week to week.
Right. We
play music, and it's not, and we talk about the story if there's been new story, but if I was just going to go play this, I have not played Dragon Age and I have not played KOTOR. So that tells you how important those things are to me.
Right. Exactly. So a lot of people who do play Star Wars: The Old Republic or play traditional MMOs, the Venn diagram between the people that like those story-driven games like Dragon Age and the circle around the people that like MMORPG games is not one-to-one mapping. So we could be losing,
and maybe we are the players that they're willing to sacrifice.
It could be. It could possibly be. Now, they keep saying we're not going to lose all the MMORPG bits. So we'll keep an eye on that and certainly be interested in what that's going to look like. I am certainly optimistic that they would do something interesting with the story and with these chapters of content. And I do sort of like the idea of taking my character through a whole bunch of new story content with the mindset of sort of role-playing my character as my character, and Max the mercenary going and doing this new thing. The way I play MMOs, though, is much more traditional MMO style. I may just do a lot less of that, and I may just come back to play the story and do a little bit of group content here and there, but not do the thing where I log on every day or make sure I'm in all the time. And it could just change the way the game is played for a lot of people, but it could be wildly successful from BioWare's perspective in the way that Dragon Age is wildly successful.
Yeah, I mean, just the format of our little podcast here, a big part of it is guild news, and we do it because of the guild. In an RPG, you don't need a guild.
Right. In a solo game, there's not all that much need to.
So so I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this comes out.
Right.
They've totally blown us away before, and done something that we didn't, or I didn't anticipate, and they've really come through. So maybe they have something planned, and they're just not ready to whatever.
Yeah.
I couldn't even finish that sentence.
Maybe. And I'm certainly open to that, and I do expect good things. We'll see how awesome or amazing or mind-blowing that they are. So expectations.
I think it would be cool though if we got to have more than one companion out at the same time. Like if you were running around with 3 or 4 companions, I would like that. That
would be cool. So I don't know. Maybe we should do that next week. We should just speculate on what all the cool future things that they could do as part of this would be. If I get to pick a new set of companions, like I just thought of the exact same thing when I was saying earlier, if you can pick companions from other class stories, and I pick like all Force users and all lightsaber wielders. Well, then I want them all out at the same time, right? And I want them all lined up with their lightsabers, and I'll match their lightsaber colors, and they'll all charge into battle and that kind of thing.
Are you sure you wouldn't pick them all the ones that had +5 crit to something in crafting?
Probably. +5 crit to slicing. It's all the slicers. You pegged me. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
You can also check the dev tracker. There was a good developer post where some of these questions were answered, and one of the final questions was, so what's up with Valkorion? Who is this dude? What's up with the Emperor? Yada yada yada. And it was a pretty funny answer that came out of that. Basically, it didn't say anything, but it said, and because of that speculation about Valkorion, what's his deal, and who's the Emperor, and is it all just another clone of Kefis, and blah blah blah, and .....
Yeah.
Yes, it's all true. I must, they're pulling me away. My revealing of the truth is now being shut down. So that was amusing.
I mean, but that brings up another bold move. It's like they're bringing new planets into the picture. These are planets that haven't existed before in the lore to date, not in the extended universe, not in KOTOR. Brand new stuff. So
and a whole new empire in some ways.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not the Empire. This is another empire. And there's this
it's
Valkorion.
The Eternal Empire.
Right.
Not the Infinite Empire, it's the Eternal Empire.
When the immovable rock meets the unresistible force, what's that? The infinite rock meets the eternal force. Yeah. I think that's and then there's the Republic in there somewhere too. So.
And you make an alliance. You're gonna forge an alliance somehow.
Yes.
Because they did use the word alliance in some of those interviews.
And finally, maybe just to cap it all off, one of the biggest pieces of angst that I've seen in social networks and people discussing is, what is the deal with my character getting frozen in carbonite for 10 years or whatever? In what universe would my bounty hunter allow that to happen? That is crap, man. I would, that would not go down. And I've seen that over and over in multiple places. Saw that all over Twitter. What the hell, man? They better have a good reason that I would end up frozen in carbonite. And I agree, sure.
I mean, after all, we are, at this point, we're like pretty badass.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, everyone on the Republic looks up to us, and everyone in the Empire looks up to us, and yeah, we have personal conversations with Darth Mar and Satele Shan. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're hot stuff.
They better have a good reason. So, and with that, I think we can wrap it up here. Our EPC 96, the Knight of Fallen into the Escape Pod, is ready to blast off. So, thanks to all of you for joining us on newoverlords.com, iTunes, YouTube, or live on Twitch. Thank you to the chat room. We'll stream again next Monday night on twitch.tv/newoverlords, again around 10:30 p.m. Central. Please follow us on Twitter @MaxTheGray and @AISEMA. And follow us on YouTube as well. That would be great. And certainly you can find us on Jedi Covenant and ask us for an AIE Guild invite, which is the reason we do this podcast. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
So long, everybody.